Hi, my name is Jeff Fastbinder with a Line, and today we're going to introduce the new Trex 700N DFC. We're going to go through the assembly process and what it takes to actually build a helicopter. We'll go through each step as you see it in the manual, from the rotor head to the autorotation unit to the frame assembly, radio components, your boom, your tail, etc. So we'll go through those processes that need to happen in order to assemble a helicopter and your helicopter to look like this. But before we get started, I want to go over just a few of the things that you may or may not already have in your field accessories. So if you're coming from electric and looking to get into nitro in a 700 size, these are some of the things that you may already have or not have in your collection as of yet. So, and some of these components actually are used for your field components, so you can use them at the field, and some of the tools we'll be using are required for assembly of your helicopter. So let's take a look at what those are, and let me put this aside here, and that way you can see the tools that you'll be needing. Starting off with tools, basic Allen wrench set. Here's from a Line here, your 4 drivers that you can use for the rotor head, frame assembly, just building your helicopter. There's a number of tools. There's a set of 4 Allen wrenches offered by Line. These are essential for the building of your helicopter, so this is a must-have. The other must-have is a set of balling pliers, again offered by Line. You're going to need these for the assembly process here. You're going to need a tool to measure with, a caliper, a ruler, or something to measure your linkages and so forth. So make sure you have that. Caliper will work, or a ruler for your assembly process. Again, here's some more Line tools here. This one actually has a Phillips screwdriver in here, so this is another tool that's outstanding to have for your field box for assembly. Also, we have the Line tool for grabbing your feathering spindle. So when you're inserting it or you're trying to back it out for repair, this is an essential tool we have for the 700, 800, and 600 right here, and then also for the 450 and 500. So these are great additions to your toolbox and can be useful when assembling your helicopter. Here's another tool from a Line. It's another Allen driver. It's just a different variant of these 4 tools, or this tool here. So whichever you choose to put in your box, depending on your carrying case, you can have just the essentials that you need. That's for the assembly part. I also have some scissors and some pliers here that you'll need for some of the assembly. As far as additional tools that you'll need are the pitch gauge. Here's the Line digital pitch gauge, the AP800. So this is a great addition to your flight box, and it eliminates the need for the flybar bar that goes on the top here, as far as utilizing it as a pitch gauge to align your blades and to find out the pitch. So the digital pitch gauge is a perfect addition to your box. As far as what's needed for your kit, here's some of the items that you will need. This is a 7.4 1900 milliamp 2-cell lithium polymer battery. This you'll need to get your helicopter running. So this is one thing you'll need there. Again, that's the Line 2-cell 7.4 1900 milliamp battery. Another item that we think is quintessential to the build is the swash leveling tool right here. And this is the H70118T. Again, that's H70118T. And this is to optimize your performance of any flybarless system for that matter. But for utilizing when building your helicopter, this is an essential tool to have. So make sure you add that to your flight box. And some other components that you'll need for the build of this helicopter, or completion of it, is the high performance muffler. I'm using the HMF 901T, and this is for 90 size engines. So I'll be using the muffler here in conjunction with the OS 91. And also I have an additional servo, and I'm using the DS615 digital servo. That's the 61501T, and I'm going to be using this on my throttle. So you'll need this to get your helicopter going. And again, I'll be using the OS engine here. Let me put this right here. I'll be using the OS engine for this build here, so pull that out. We'll be using this for our build, so we'll get that going, put that in the mix when we're assembling the helicopter. Let me put that here. As far as when you're setting up your servos, if you don't have your radio on or don't want to have your radio during the build process, another great tool Align has is called the RCE-MT8. This enables you to center your servos without a radio. You can get any type of battery basically utilizing JST, and that's what this is actually used for as well, is checking your batteries after your flight. You can check it and it'll tell you your voltage, how your cells are doing, what's the capacity left in the pack. But in addition to that, you can use it as a tachometer and also use it for setting up your servos. So you can put your servo, plug it in here, center it. Centering is about 15, 20, thereabouts for most radio systems as far as a number when you plug in your servo, and it's pretty accurate. So it'll get you a good starting point, and then you can fine tune it later on when you have your radio and everything at one time for the final setup. So a great tool for setting up or getting your servos centered. You can use that. And the other thing that you'll need for nitro, again, if you're new to nitro or getting a 700 and just want the convenience of an all-in-one starter, Align has a starter here with a convenient carrying case to put your starter for when you're traveling or just carrying to the field. And this runs off of a 3-cell lithium polymer battery. And it actually has a battery checker component where you press the button on the side here and that tells you exactly what your battery indication is. And that's your starter. It's a hex starter for starting up your helicopter. So again, this is offered from Align, and you can find this on our website at www.align.com.tw. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start getting some components together. We're going to clean up, move this stuff over, and we're going to get started with our build. We're going to start off with the rotor head system, just as the manual indicates. And let's get started. Rotor head set box. This includes the 3GX here. We'll go ahead and put that aside. And let's go ahead and get in the main rotor head set here. And there's quite a few bags. But right now what we'll look at is the rotor head. I'll go ahead and pull the bags out actually. One less thing on the bench. Okay. So we'll put that away. And let's put these to the side here for now. Alright, so right now we're looking at the rotor head bag. Let's go ahead and open this up. And this is bag number 700 FLH8. Alright, we got the rotor head and bubble wrap here. Before I get too far, let me go ahead and pull out some Loctite from our bag here. We have, this is part of the 700 FLZ bag, which has ball links, your linkage rods, grease, some anaerobic or Loctite. It also has your some other parts here that you're going to need later on in the process, but we'll go ahead and put that aside to get out what we need, which is the 50HZ006, and that again is the anaerobic for the blue and green Loctite, as well as the grease that we'll need for this process. Alright, so let's put that aside. Alright, looking at the rotor head here, the new DFC rotor head, it looks complete, like it's totally assembled and everything, and it actually is. But what we need to do here is go through this, make sure that the bearings have grease, the thrust bearings, and also ensure that all these screws have been Loctited so that they're safe for operation. So let's go ahead and pull the rotor head apart here. This down, pull this out, and I'm gonna take this apart and take a look. Okay. As you can see, that came off rather easy. You have one shim here, and we'll set that aside, and we'll pull this out. Get that out of the way. And that came out, and you see the one of the dampeners came out with it here. We'll go ahead and push this out. I'll pop this back in the dampener here, and those just pop into place. The head button's loose, but we'll get to that in a second here. And let's go ahead and pull that out, and then alright, so I have my spindle in my hand here. The screw is hand tight. Again, it's just assembled so that you have all the parts. Make sure that the accuracy of part count in your kit is complete. Inside right now, the thrust bearings, you notice that they won't just pop right out. Okay, what I'm going to have to do is, depending on how tight they are, I'm going to check it real quick. Let's see. There we go. Smacked it with my hand. I'm looking at it, and it does have some grease in here. Okay? So what I want to do though, instead of just having some grease, I'm going to put a good amount of grease in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull this apart. Here's the radial bearing, a shim, and then on the face of the bearing it says out. That's correct. It's been assembled correctly. And then out means facing towards the rotor blade. We'll take a look. We have some grease here. You have this side of the bearing. This is the sealed side, which is fine. That's what we want. The exposed side, though, we want facing in towards the center of the rotor hub. So we're going to go ahead and grease this. And be generous with it because you want your bearings to last as long as possible. And what we do is put that shim back. We use our spindle here. You can put this in to insert that. Push this back. And then I can use that to reinsert the thrust bearing. Okay, I've just greased that side. Pull my spindle back out, and I'll set this grip down. I will do the same on this side here. And let's see if I can wiggle that one loose. Alrighty. Let's see. Alright, if the bearing does not pop out, what you can do is get a heat gun. When I say heat gun, I mean like the kind that is used for stripping paint or something like that. And get yourself a glove. Briefly heat this grip up, and then again you can smack it on your hand. You don't want to damage the grip or anything. You smack it on your hand with a glove on, once if it is hot, to pop this out. And I'm going to try one more time, and if not, I will implore heat to pop the bearing, because you don't want to stick like a screwdriver or anything in here to pop this. Actually, what I just did right now from the back side is I use the spindle. Again, you don't want to use a screwdriver because you don't want to damage your bearings. So I use the spindle, and I caught an edge, and I pushed the radial bearing out so that way I can get the thrust bearing out. So now what I'll do is, still with the spindle in place, I'll tap that, and now I have the bearings here. Just utilizing spindle, my hand, and I was able to get that out. Again, you want to make sure that on the thrust bearing it says out. In this case it says out, and that's again facing towards the rotor blade itself. The inside is the open bearing part, the exposed part, and that's the area where we want to apply the grease. So we're going to go ahead and apply grease here. And this again is included with your kit. So I'm just utilizing the component that's included with our kit. I'm going to use my spindle once again for inserting this. Put this back in here. Press that in. And as far as the grease is being applied for the rotor head, we're done there as far as greasing. So let's go ahead and put the rotor head back together. What I'll do is get some Loctite. Or I'll get it open, if you will. And before I reinsert the spindle, before I forget, let's put a little grease on it here. A little bit. And then you can rub that around with your finger. And that's for when we reinsert it inside of the rotor head block here, that it's smooth. Alright, so let's go ahead and push that through. Okay. Alright, so that's pushed through. And let's put the, again, the dampener in. On the dampener, make sure that the concave side is facing out towards the grip. It's not facing inward. The flat side faces inward. So just so you know, when you're reassembling that, it should face outward, outside of the grip on both sides. We're going to put our shim back in. Put that on both sides. Alright. Let's go ahead and move that off to the side. And let's get our bolt here and our grips. And we'll put this back together. Again, when you're working, make sure that you got a nice spot. Again, the towel is included with your kit. Utilize it so that way it's easy if a screw falls or anything during the build process. All you need is a little bit in there. Spread that in. Make sure you got that coated. Alright. Align side facing up towards the top of your helicopter. We'll just get that started. Alright, that's that side. And go ahead and insert that. Just do the same. Smear that in again. And insert that. Let's tighten up the DFC rotor head here. The grips. Okay. Alright. Sure it's nice and smooth on both sides. If you will be using a digital pitch gauge, you can go ahead and secure the head button now. If you're not using a digital pitch gauge, just snug it up because then you can use basically the pitch gauge on top here with a fly bar, and that'll enable you to read your pitch setting. But if you're using a digital pitch gauge, you can go ahead and affix this now, which I'm going to do because I'm going to be using a digital pitch gauge during the pitch process. Alright. Okay, now we have the pitch arms here, the pitch links. We need to secure these, so what we're going to do, we'll take these off, each one, then we're going to Loctite these, make sure that they're Loctited. Again, you'll notice that these are just tightened just enough to secure it to the grip. So go ahead and pop those out. Okay. If you get too much on, just rub it off with your finger. You don't want an excessive amount where it's just running all over the place. Just get it inside the thread itself. Okay, and these just snug. I'm not gripping really hard to tight. I'm just snug right there, and that's good enough. Okay, and now let's do the pitch link arm here. We'll back this out. Alright. Again, right here you just want to put just a little bit there. Get it in a thread, and let's go ahead and insert that. That's it. Just tight. Just tighten up. It should be tight, snugged up there. These here, actually, you can Loctite these. You put just a little dab here. Insert these. Go ahead and do the other side since I have a little excess. We'll put that aside for the moment. We'll insert this. You can use your balling plier, the flat spot, just to tighten that down. Just bring it all the way to the edge of the pitch link arm. And that's it. Don't go overboard with that. Just get it snug right to the base of the pitch link arm here. Okay? That's where our ball link will go later. And now we'll repeat on the other side, the same process. So as you can see, the rotor head goes together relatively simply. It's very easy and straightforward to put together here. Again, we always want to make sure that the bearings are lubricated, especially the thrust bearings and the rotor head. And it's advisable when you're flying that you inspect the bearings every 20 or so flights just to check the feel of the rotor head. And when in doubt, all you got to do is, get a couple Allen wrenches, pop the grip off, inspect the spindle, with the spindle off I should say, check the bearing, make sure everything's running true and smooth, and also make sure that the grease that you apply, there's still a liberal amount of grease present. If not, just reapply and make sure you keep your thrust bearings properly lubed, and that'll serve you well for longevity of your bearings. So make sure that you inspect them regularly. Okay. Again, I'm not cinching, just getting it tight, Loctite, do the work, and there's no play or slop there. We're good. Got a little bit of Loctite from that other side there, so we'll go ahead and screw this in. Again, I'm going to use my balling plier, or you could use a pair of pliers just to bring it down just to the edge, the base of the pitch length there. And that's it. Alright, so we got our rotor head there. There's a few other bolts in this bag here, which I'll bring out. Let's go put that aside. And this is the 700F LH8A. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and cut this open. Again, great to have the towel present. Makes it a lot easier to see what we're doing, and enables us not to lose our parts. So, alright, we have grip bolts there. We'll go ahead and put those on. We won't be utilizing that for a while, so we'll go ahead and put this in so less bolts moving around. Bolt and nut there. Alright. Here's our bolt for our bottom of I should say the top there, G-bolt. Go ahead and screw these in. These are larger, so if you, say for instance, undo all the bags, you'll be able to tell because the size of the diameter hole is much larger than, say, for the traditional link. Screw this on there. That started. And we'll go ahead and we're going to take that pretty much to the base of that screw. Take it all the way. One more turn. All right. Let's see. All right. Don't overdrive this. Just take it to it's tight, as you can see. It's pretty tight. I have probably, I'd say maybe a 1/2 mil gap right now. It's a good starting position, and you can adjust as needed for flight, but you should be, with the stock link the way it's set up, if everything else is set up 90 and your swash is leveled with your swash leveler, I think you'll find that you'll be within a turn, if that. You might be dead on right off the get-go. So go ahead and get that on there. Okay. Side's a little tougher, or my hands are just getting a little tired, so I'm gonna use my ball link plier here. Again, just go slowly. Don't rip real hard on your links here. And remember, actually, the ball, when it's on the rotor head here, I'll bring the swash out. You're going to want these turned anyway. They're going to be turned in line with the main shaft here. So I'll do the same for this side, since I didn't do that on the first go here. Let me go ahead and turn that. And get that lined up. And there's a rotor head right here, as you see it. That's the completed rotor head for your helicopter. Greased, screws are all right here. This is going to go in the main shaft. And we'll go ahead and get this started here in a moment. I'm going to pull this stuff out. And this is the 700 NH10. Pulling out the swash and the main shaft here. All the balls on the swash are loose when they come from the factory. Loose meaning they're not tightened down or Loctited, so you need to do that. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's get that accomplished. We'll Loctite all these. Again, just a small amount will do. And yeah, if this is your first time assembling an Align helicopter or a 700 size helicopter, I think you'll find it very similar to any other Trex helicopter that we have as far as assembly. Super straightforward. The manual will describe in detail the process very well for you. Again, this video is a supplement to that manual, so if you just want to watch along and see the build process, you can use your manual, kind of look at your manual and reference the manual, and at the same time actually see it being done right here. There's two ball hole positions. What these will do is enable you to gain higher resolution by moving or utilizing the inner ball, or moving it out and increasing the amount of cyclic. The movement is very subtle, but subtle as it may be, it is very effective, and it is 1 degree of cyclic, the amount of shift. So if you want to get more cyclic, you can, just by moving the ball in or out to your specific needs. Go ahead and do that. All right. Excuse me. Alright, that's done. We'll pull out the main shaft here. The main shaft comes with a bunch of shims that are used for tightening the free play between the main shaft and your upper and lower bearing block when it's all assembled. We have a total of 4 shims. We have 2 thin and 2 thicker shims. These thin are varying sizes of thickness. Get it snug when you first get your helicopter going, but not too snug. You know, there can be just a slight amount of free play, but not a lot, and those shims will help you achieve the tightness that you desire. But go ahead and put this together, and we'll go ahead and pop the links on here. Just one, and again, make sure the A faces out. Pop this on. Pretty snug when they're brand spanking new like this, so be careful not to pull too hard. There we go. Pop that in place and you're good. Alright, let's line up the bolt holes here. We have these bolts right here. And actually, point out, just like what I just did here, when I assemble this, I have this pitch link arm directly in the way of this bolt. The easiest way to get around this, if you do what I just did, is to take off this pitch link arm. Just go ahead and take it off. Unscrew this. It's far easier to do this than to pull on the link. And we'll just go ahead and pull that aside like that, and now we have access for your Allen screw here to go through. We'll line that up, and we'll get our nut here, the back side. Oops. This is where a pair of needle nose would be nice if you're doing it. I'll go ahead and slide this in with my finger here. Should be sufficient. But needle nose will work great in this application. I'm going to use my plier here just to hold this nut from the back. Push this swash up. See that? Alright, and we'll tighten this down. Okay. Alright, that's tightened onto the main shaft. Now we have these 2 other screws that we need to secure the rotor head to the main shaft with. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just smear that into the thread. Put that in. Okay, that's tight. See the other side? Alright. We should have some Loctite on the thread, but I'm going to go ahead and reapply just a small amount. Again, let's get that in the thread, not on the race. If you get too much, make sure you wipe off the excess. You don't want that getting near your bearing. Alright, put that back in. Okay. Let's insert that there. Alright, and that's your rotor head swash main shaft as you see it. The shims, the way the shims are used, is you just basically put this here on the main shaft, slide that in, and you adjust depending on the amount of free play between the upper bearing block and the lower bearing block when the actual auto rotation unit is applied to the helicopter. So this is the rotor head assembly, as you see it complete right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this aside, and then the next thing we'll look at is the auto rotation unit. Alright, so go ahead and put that aside. And let's get the auto rotation units. Alright, and this is bag number 700N B9. Alright. Alright, there's a bolt, or nut I should say, and a bolt already inserted inside of the auto rotation unit. Let's go ahead and back this up just a little bit. Alright, so we have our bolt and nut there, and an auto unit. Alright, and the manual tells you to check these screws here. Check, make sure that they're tight. Just again, make sure that they're snug on these here. And when you check, make sure you go from one side and back, cross over, back, cross over. That's the way you apply an equal amount of torque, and you keep it so it's balanced when you're setting the gear. So if you're putting a new gear on, make sure you do that. The other thing you want to check is on the bottom side, which holds the sprag bearing inside. Just be firm, check it like this, make sure they're tight here. Most of these on the auto rotation unit are already been tightened for you, so just check it. And that's what you want to do for that. If you do want to take it apart, you can do that. Just be careful when you're disassembling the unit. If some of the actual screws already have Loctite or you feel resistance, I would recommend actually heating it up again with like the heat gun in order to ensure that the Loctite is free or loose, and that way the screws can be easily removed without damaging the threads. If you're gonna lube this bearing up, the sprag, an easy way of doing this is just to pull it just a little bit, the sleeve, not all the way out. You get a little bit of the grease here that we provide, and you insert the grease, put this on the sprag there, your finger, and you put a little bit of the grease there, but don't pull it all the way out. If you pull it all the way out, then you have to you're going to wind up having to disassemble the unit here. You will have to take this apart. But if you just put a little bit of grease on the inside here, that'll give you plenty of grease there. It's just like a pea-size bead all around. And if you want a little more, you can on the top here. Put some on the actual sleeve itself. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but just a simple bead of that, and then just smear it on. Smear that on. And then slide that in, rotate it in. And you'll feel it feels nice and smooth. Spins nice and freely, and that's what you want. What you don't want to do though is to insert oils and things like that in, you know, if you've built helicopters in the past, I do know that there's some other lubricants out there, nothing wrong with them, but in this particular application, whether it's ATF or Tri-Flow, what will happen is the sleeve retainer, because there's an actual sleeve in your auto hub, when you look at your manual you can see the parts, it has been secured for you at the factory. It's already taken care of for you. But if you introduce these other type of lubricants, aside from the grease, what will happen is it'll find its way behind the actual sleeve and will basically disable your auto rotation system from working effectively, because the actual sleeve will spin inside of the auto rotation unit. So make sure that you don't use those type of lubricants. We have provided the one-way grease for you from the line. We've provided this, and it should be more than adequate for providing grease for the helicopter for all the needed areas. So that's it for the auto rotation unit. Again, as long as you introduce grease either from the bottom side here without pulling this all the way out and applying just a small amount of grease to the actual sleeve, slide that in, you're going to have a nice free, smooth operation on the sprag. It's running free. You put this back together here, and now you have the gear complete, and we can insert our bolt back and get ready for the next process. And the next process is the frame assembly. So hope you'll continue watching because our next segment will be the frame and putting all the components together to utilize both the rotor head and the auto rotation unit we've just built here. Again, these parts are all assembled for you at the factory, but they are some essential areas that you will need to check for Loctite and so forth. The rotor head is the main component there that you want to check out for the Loctite, as well as some of the other areas that we'll point out as we're doing the build. We verified the tightness of these bolts here. They all are fine. We've checked out the auto rotation unit, provided lubricant on the one-way bearing, and also made sure that everything looked good in the auto rotation unit as far as tightness on the bearing side, and we've done that. So let's go ahead and set up for the actual frame assembly. Again, that'll be part 2 of our assembly process. Thank you. Again, my name is Jeff Fassbinder, and if you have any questions about the build of the new Trex 700N DFC, please feel free to email me at jeff@alignercusa.com or visit our website at www.align.com.tw. Thank you for watching.